Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for watching this panel today. So for this one, we're going to talk about finding a place in a community as a marginalized person. So, which means basically, if you're a woman, if you're a queer person, if you're neurodivergent, basically how to find people that can be helpful for you to find a safe space and how to create a safe space for those people and how to maintain a great atmosphere within the community. So I hope you're going to enjoy this talk. So I'm going to let people introduce themselves first, the people that are on the talk with me. So first, I'm going to ask Robbie to introduce himself.
Cool. Hey, I'm Robbie. I'm also known as Vanity Angel. I was a competitive smasher for 10 to 11 years and played in a lot of UK tournaments and ran the LGBTQ meetup at Air 5. Retired in 2019 and have been popping up here and there on NetPlay since. So yeah, that's me. Hello.
Great, thank you. All right, so the next person that we have invited here in this panel is Swish. Swish, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Swish. I started playing Melee in 2014. I was previously Brawl Wi-Fi player, which is just great. I came out as trans in 2017. I started doing tournament organization and other various things for the community in 2018, right up until the pandemic. And nowadays I do streaming, commentary, just jack of all trades, playing Melee.
Very cool, right? Thank you very much. And the last person we have on this panel today is AshClaye, aka Ash. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, so my name is AshClaye. I'm a non-binary person from France. I've been playing Melee for almost a year now. I have autism, and before joining the Melee community, I ran a local support group for autistic people, and yeah, I've been playing Melee for almost a year now, and attending tournaments and joining communities.
Perfect, thank you. And to introduce myself as well, I'm Jana. I'm coming from France originally, and I've been living in Germany and now in England. I've been in the community since 2016. I've been helping TOing in many small events like weeklies and bigger events as well. And I've been creating with a bunch of other people the Discord European Women's Smash to help the girls from the community and part of the non-binary people as well, having a safe space for them and just feel more confident by being together. So yeah, thank you very much for being there today. It's very exciting.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so today I think we're going to start about how was the how was it when you started basically starting to play Melee, and how would you see the biggest difference from there to now? So I think we can start with Robbie for this one. So since you have the most experience in the community, I think you're the most the person that can say the most about how it changed within the years. So would you see a lot of difference from when you started? How was it when you started, and how do you see it now?
Yeah,
Sorry.
no worries. So it was a long time ago when I first entered a tournament. I think it was the tournament was totally not January 2, which was in Yeovil in 2007. It was just a very different scene back then, so we didn't know that it was going to be a professional esport game that you could play. It was just a bunch of kids in a room, really. We were all a lot younger, and attitudes were very, very different at that point. So just before the talk, I wanted to remind myself when I started playing, so I went back on Smashboards and had a look at the Totally Not January Smashboards thread, and just as an example of what it was like in terms of what language people used, pretty much every other word in these posts was gay, but in a pejorative sense. So, your peach is gay, that's gay, stop that, you should play more gay, meaning like running away and playing in a lame style. So that's where I started, and at that point, I didn't identify as gay. So, and even if I did at that point, I probably still would have been using that language myself, just because it was so prevalent. That's what people did. That's how we spoke. So really, that continued for quite a number of years, and I feel like I would say that that's mostly gone now. I mean, still, I remember attending tournaments and still hearing people say that not that long ago. So I know it was around, but it's just the prevalence of that kind of term being used every other word certainly isn't a thing anymore. But it's a very different scene now. We have a lot more of a professional setup than we had when I started, and awareness has changed a great deal since 2007. So yeah, that's just on a kind of starting note for everybody else to kind of go from. That's where we began, and things have changed a lot, but I'm not part of the scene so much anymore, so I'm interested to hear what it's like now for others, because I mean, I ran an LGBTQ plus meetup at Air 5 in 2018, which came from a tweet that I believe this is where it started. I don't remember exactly, but I tweeted at whilst I was at a tournament in Germany. I just asked, like, where are all the queer smashers? Like, I don't know any others really. So, and I got kind of a flood of responses back, like, oh, me. And like, these were people that sometimes they were actually coming out in those tweets to me, sometimes in a DM or something, just like feeling like they didn't have a space themselves. And then we had that meetup, and I think it kind of helped galvanize some kind of like people that weren't really finding a place to meet and talk. But really, that was the second to last tournament I entered. So I went to one major tournament really since then. So I don't know how things are now, and it's great to have people like Ash who've been around for a year and seen how that is now, because I hope things have improved a lot. There certainly was times over the years where I've experienced direct discrimination from people in terms of like name calling, but without any kind of repercussions, just because we didn't have any systems for that kind of stuff back in the day. We had no professional kind of conduct or anything like that in the community. We didn't have sponsors. We were just, like I said already, we were just children really hanging out doing something that we loved. We didn't know that it would become this way ever. It was not guaranteed that it would become as big as it has.
All right, thank you. Well, yeah, I think we definitely had an evolution coming within the years compared to what it could have been in 2007, thankfully. So yeah, what about you, Swish? What was your experience, and when did you started playing, and what kind of evolution have you been seeing within the scene?
Well, I think before we came on air, Ash was sort of talking about it, how sort of those 2010s is when being gay and being queer sort of moved from being bad in like society's view to more just being sort of weird, is something you had to figure out. People weren't used to it. And I think that's what I experienced most going into starting in the scene. When I joined the scene, I was very confused. I was very lonely, and I used the Smash scene as a way to sort of explore my identity and sort of reinvent myself. And I think that was the same for a lot of people in the Scottish scene. The Scottish scene now is quite gay. There are a lot of marginalized people in the Scottish scene, and it didn't start out that way. But I think a lot of people use the melee scene as sort of a way to find themselves, because it's a place where you can go, and it's sort of different from online communities. This is probably something more that Ash can talk about, but you know, a lot of us can't explore ourselves the same way online, or at least it's different online versus offline. And I think we all sort of use that space to find each other. We were very young, a lot of us, when we started out in the Scottish scene. We've all sort of grown up together. and sort of when I came out as trans in 2017, I wasn't the first out trans person in Europe. There was Layla in Wales. I think there was some in the Smash 4 community, but definitely it was there was no one to talk to. It was quite lonely, but sort of people were very interested and understanding, because it was people weren't like discriminatory. They were just more curious. I was sort of the first trans person that they knew, so I had to field all the questions. I had to sort of teach people, which is like it's both an honor and like very stressful to sort of have to be the authority on that sort of thing to people who don't have the experiences. And especially, I was just out. I didn't have the experiences either. But and then I think that there's been problems in the community. I think I remember the LGBT meetup at Air 5 very fondly, because I think it signaled like a real change in the community from there. I hope Robbie would be proud of that. There's because there's sort of I want to say incidents, and sort of people became a lot more aware of trying to teach others and sort of be more supportive. And I think that's really shown in like recent years. I think the community is more diverse than ever. I think people are a lot more supportive, a lot more educated, and it's great. It's changed so much.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think you're totally right. When I look at the community, which is not as such a long time ago, but back in 2016, for example, I could see that there were still a lot of non-awareness. People were just not aware of what could be very hurtful for some communities or for some people, or sorry, so yes, what can be hurtful basically. And I think with people just being more open about themselves and coming out directly to the community as well, or publicly on Twitter or on Facebook, and being being public about it, just helped people just basically asking more questions and trying to be more respectful rather than just using quote unquote insults within the games that are not supposed to be there. And they now, at least for a bigger majority, they now understand that it can be very hurtful and that it shouldn't be used basically. So yeah, I think that's great. So, what about you, Ash? I know that you've been quite new in the community compared to a lot of other people. So, have you been entering the community through those groups of marginalized people? And have you been feeling safer to start your journey there? Or have you been knowing about those groups after you joined the Melee community?
I started Melee through safe groups, really, because like before playing Melee, I played other video games, and I was used to not being able to be a trans person on an online space on a video game without getting insulted, getting death threats, or whatever. So I joined Melee through specifically inclusive groups. And I want to shout out one in particular being Gaylee, which is more an American-based group, still very supportive, which is an LGBTQ exclusive support Discord. And they organize events, meetups, etc. Which just like allowed me to I can just play the game. It's kind of simple to say it this way, but I didn't have to worry about who I am. I could just play the game. That was great. And then through meeting people, I joined into the greater community, like EU Women of Smash, and later on I joined I started getting integrated in the LFM server, this kind of stuff, starting interacting with more of the general gamers, and it was it's quite a shift. I've had I've had some negative interactions around being queer, definitely. Not the thing is, I have been supported by either mods or organizers throughout all of these interactions. I never had anyone like tell me that I wasn't supported, and that was very important to me. That's I think one of the main reasons I've stuck through a year now of playing Melee is that I never felt that people would turn on me. So I think I'm painting a pretty good picture of the community nowadays, I think, which is nice. At least to me, I have not had such an oppressive environment as it used to be, even like in general online spaces like 4 years ago was way different. Yeah.
All right. Do you think you personally wouldn't have joined the community that fast if those safe spaces weren't existing?
Absolutely. Actually, I probably would have not entered an RL tournament if I didn't have um, the assurance that I'm not gonna get insulted or driven out of the premise by people who are gonna hate crime me. I don't know. Like, I'm sorry. Maybe it's my own personal experience of life. I have had negative experiences of going to bars or public spaces as a openly trans person. And if I am going to a place, I need to make sure in advance that I am safe to go to this place. So to me, it was very important to have supportive people, uh, like in the tournament organizers and in the just tournament attendees that I knew were gonna have my back in case something went wrong.
All right. So yeah, I definitely think that it's super important to have the groups we have now. I don't think I'm wrong. For example, if I were talking about the European Women's Smash, which is, for those who don't know, just a Discord server where we have European women playing Smash, basically. So it can be either Ultimate, Smash 4 at the time, or it can be Melee or 64, though we are most centered around Melee, or at least the most active players are around Melee. So we're trying to have monthly events. We're trying to make the people safe and organize Smash Sisters events as well during offline tournaments. And we definitely have seen more women coming within the community, or at least being willing to play online, rather than when those kind of groups weren't existing. So I do definitely feel like this is something that is important to have, just because once we are feeling like we are together, it gives us strength to be to go out, or just feeling safer, or not being alone, which is, for example, something that I didn't understood when I joined the community. I know I have this anecdote with Exile a lot, from when I started. One of the first event I went to was a tournament called Nantes Arena, which was in my city, which was I think it was a 64 cap event. And Exile was here and was trying to create a Smash Sisters event. And we were, I think, 4 or 5 women at the time in that tournament. And I said no. I said no because I didn't want it to be dividing the community. I wanted everyone to play together. Which then I understood that this is not to divide the community. This is not to divide anyone or put people in cases or boxes. It is just for women or non-binary people or trans people, or like the meetup, basically understand that we are all in there together, and that we can support each other, that we can help each other through the journey of going to a tournament. That can be just sharing an Airbnb, that can be just training together Melee, just to make sure that the bias of being a woman or being trans or being gay doesn't make a difference, and that yeah, just making sure that the experience is great for everyone. So for this reason, I wanted to see with you, Swish. I think you've been creating one of the Discord as well for communities, for marginalized communities.
No, I'm not really a Discord user. I think you mean Ash.
Okay. Sorry. So Ash, you've been into the creation of Quemp, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sorry about that. I wanted to see with you how basically to build a space that isn't existing already for either marginalized group or specific group within the community, and how to make sure that this stays active and that people likes the engagement that there is in this Discord, or that can be a forum or anything. So what would be your take on that?
First of all, creating a safe space is very hard. About regulating the other people, regulating ourselves, that's another topic, honestly. But we started from, I would say, just some mostly kids who had joined Melee over the pandemic, really. And we're like, where do we go if we're queer? That's the idea. And some of us were in Gaylee, like I said. Others were just, I don't know, kind of hidden inside on their own. And we just made a server, and we said, okay, if you're queer, just come in and we'll see what happens. And I was kind of blown away by the amount of people who came in, actually. It was, we ran bi-weekly tournaments to get people to engage with each other's. We encouraged net play sessions. We encouraged discussions about the game. We encouraged discussions about queerness, about life in general. We try to be supportive of each other. That's very important. And I think we've been motivated. I think we've had the opportunity to create relationships, online relationships between people who are close enough IRL, but would not have met otherwise, because we've had, like, some of our members went to, for example, London weeklies, and they would have not gone if they didn't know that that they would be safe and they would have community members next to them. That's part of the reason why we kept going so far. Is it's still a supportive place, and just being able to create a social connection with other people is valuable in itself.
I think that with Discords it's very important for Discords to be sort of planned. Me and Robbie will remember Real Gay Hours, which was sort of the proto UK queer server, which came out under sort of very spontaneous circumstances, and sort of everyone had to try and work together to figure out what it should be, what they wanted it to be, and there's a lot of conflict there. Sort of me and Robbie had sort of some negative experiences in that place, which sort of led to, falling apart and becoming, people moving on to places like Gaylee and Kemp.
I think when that Discord started, it was one of the most exciting experiences I'd actually had in Smash for a very long time, though, just to have that collection of people together to speak and feel like I knew that they were there and that we were all able to communicate. Yeah. And I was checking it all the time, just like I became suddenly obsessed with it. But as Swish said, it was not an easy experience as well at the same time, because it was just very unstructured. There was no one, I guess we are a grassroots community. It's hard for those leadership roles to kind of be taken up and done and carried out responsibly sometimes. So I think that was some of the, I don't remember exactly what happened with that Discord, but those things can be challenges. I think being part of a grassroots community is that it's all self-organized, and there's no kind of like that self-moderation and that kind of stuff as well is always going to be a challenge.
Yeah, definitely can see that. I know that while we started to create the European Women's Smash Discord, we had already some insight from the Smash Sister Discord, which is open to allies, but it's mostly for women. And even to enter Smash Sisters event, it's already really hard to be sort of like blocking access to people to enter the space and make them understand that it's not against them, but it's just we want to keep the space safe, just basically. So we had to create some rules, and we had to try to be not rude but very strict about it, just to make sure that nothing would be leaked, nobody would be inside just screenshotting what we say, or just trying to leak content, or just being in a space that they don't quote unquote deserve to be in, or they just don't fit in. So it has been quite hard, and it was a lot of pressure on us as well, just to make sure to make them understand in the most polite way without trying to be mean or anything. And we had a lot of people pretending to be something, pretending to be a woman, pretending to be a trans woman, or non-binary people, where we know them from the community, and they're just a man from the community just trying to enter a space they don't fit in. So this was a lot of pressure for us, and it still is in some part today. But I think now, with the years of I think we created the Discord 2 or 3 years ago. I think with the years now, it's easier for people to just understand that we don't want to be mean. It's just we want the space to be safe. We just want people to be happy being in there, and make sure that they understand that the information they are sharing is between us and not shared to the world. It's not public. So, yeah.
There was a very similar experience when I made these badges to hand out at the LGBTQ plus meetup, and everyone wanted a badge, and it was just these. I mean, they're pretty cool. So, but it was something for a group of people that, to my knowledge, had never been in a Smash space and been together in that way. So it was just a small token to be like, you're here, you belong to, in this way, take a badge, just feel some belonging in that. But that was actually a really upsetting thing to have to say no to people, and people then got very upset being told no, that they weren't allowed to have one of these badges. It's just I just wanted to share that because it's something that stuck with me from that event, and came up from what you just shared about the experience of like making safe spaces and spaces for people to belong.
I think some people take advantage of the sort of family nature of Melee, where it's grassroots, we're all in it together, and they don't respond well to people who sort of take like leadership, who take charge and try and sort of tell them what to do. I think we're all sort of trained to be non-confrontational and get along with everyone, and there has to be some boundaries drawn.
Yeah, definitely. It's always hard to be the mean one anyway, or to be the one saying no. So yeah, that's something that we had to learn overall. And I think we didn't do too bad overall. So So I would like to ask Robbie again. Just how do you think you would have felt if those kind of spaces, or those kind of movement, or even when it's meetups, or if it was in forums, because forums were more the thing at the time, for example, rather than Discord, obviously. How would you have felt if those kind of spaces were already existing, and would you have done it in a different way, do you think?
Well, I think there's a couple of things there, but one thing that immediately comes to mind is what Ash said about being able to play the game and just be yourself. There's something that that I experienced as a gay person, or someone that identifies as gay, that there was always something extra that I had on my mind at tournaments that I don't know, perhaps felt like something else that I was navigating whilst I was at an event. I joined the community with two of my close friends, who I'm still friends with to this day, but they lost interest after a while. So I was then going to events by myself, and I did end up feeling quite isolated in tournaments. So I imagine that, well, the feeling that I did have when eventually I did get to spend time with other LGBTQ plus people at a tournament was one of relief and belonging, which I did feel was missing for me in the community pretty much most of the time I was there. I struggled to make friends and make connections in the community for most of the time. So I did go to events and feel often like it was me fighting for myself, kind of, and that was it. And there was nobody, like, people had my back, of course, people cheered for me. I'm not saying that didn't happen, and I don't want to make myself out to be like a victim or anything in it. It was just like a feeling that I had of just like I didn't have that same belonging that I had, even just when I had friends of my own that were at the tournament that were there to support me. It's just a thing of when you, I don't know, when you have expectations, when you lose a tournament match, to just be able to turn to a friend who you know understands and like has your back, that's incredibly meaningful. And it's not to say that everybody that is not LGBTQ fits in and has like those feelings of community. That I'm sure that exists as well, but it's just like it's a different kind of experience as someone who is LGBTQ plus who goes to a tournament. So yeah, I had a long period of time where I struggled to feel like I had a place and that I fitted in and I had friends and a group. So to me, I think of players like SonicFox in other video games, and they're a very comfortable and open player, and I kind of look at them and I admire that, and I think I wish I had that for myself. I wonder what I would have been able to achieve if I'd been able to be like SonicFox has been. So I feel it blocked me greatly as like a competitor, as someone that was able to enjoy the scene socially. And I have a lot of regret over it. I wish if I could do my time in the community again, I would do a lot of things differently. I would seek those people earlier on. I would try and be more open just in general to people. But like, in a sense, those were the conditions of the time that I played in as well. It didn't feel so easy. Not to say that it feels easy now. That's not what I'm saying. It's just like there weren't those spaces. There weren't places to go. So it felt very difficult for me, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say, in those conditions at the time. And I do feel regret over it. And I hope that those groups continue and that people like Ash are able to join the scene and feel that straight away from the beginning of joining the scene and find those ways into the community. It's amazing to hear those stories, because it is, as you said, Ash, that you can be yourself and play the game. That's the important thing. That's what we're here to do. And without any kind of barriers to it. So I'm that's a great thing to hear that we've got places that people can do that.
And there's always a sort of disconnect between, you know, how you feel and how you're perceived and how you think you're perceived. I remember when I started playing, you were, I think, taking a break at the time, or you weren't as active. And so I didn't know much about you, but I'd heard about you from sort of old school Scottish players like Sox and AC Anon, who had sort of a very different perspective of you compared to when you came back. And I heard about you from English players who said that, you know, you struggled like socially and, you know, feeling welcome in the community, whereas like from Scottish players who didn't see you all the time, who, you know, only saw you at these big events, you know, they loved you. And it's sort of to be perceived by like the people you see very often and then the people out of region, it's like very different, and you always sort of worry about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like Socks was my like Smash dad though, so like like he taught me to play Samus back in the day, and like I don't know, it's just different. And we didn't. That's another good point is that like tournaments we talk about weeklies, right? We had a tournament a year sometimes in 2008, so we wouldn't see these people. A lot of our communication was online in these heavily kind of like pejorative like landscapes of language where that's what you were seeing all the time. So I might go and see them face to face and have a great relationship with them in person, but then spend a year away where we're talking all online and like I'm getting some kind of, I don't know, yeah, but it's a really interesting thing. And you're right, like those perspectives like are very different, like what you see in yourself, how others see you. And there were, I can't say that I felt all negative things. There were a lot of like really great moments of like seeing people again and like them being very welcoming and kind to me. And it's not that people were mean. That feeling was more coming from within me. So yeah, that was just how I kind of experienced it, I think, over the years.
All right. Yeah. I think I'm pretty glad that we have the space now where people just feel accepted, or they feel like they have their place. Where now it does with those groups and being public about those groups, it really feels like people, not that they don't care anymore, but there is not this barrier anymore just because those spaces are existing. This is now part of the community. This is now known to be something. And people are more out about their sexuality. They're more out about who they are, or if they're trans, or their character, or anything, basically, as if it was just a normal topic, because this is a normal topic, where before there were always this sort of taboo around sexuality, around gender, etc., where now everyone, or a big part of people, have their pronouns in their bio, or they talk openly about it, or if they have doubts, they talk about it too. So it's really important to have that in the community as well as just the society in a bigger scale. So I'm really happy to see it working. And in the same topic, I wanted to ask you, Ash, I know that it has been very helpful for a lot of people to have those dedicated groups, either the Transcord, the European Women's Smash, Gaylee, or Kemp. Do you think it would be something very interesting to have as well for people in the spectrum, or for neurodivergent people?
That is a question I've put a lot of thought into. I think in a sense, yes, or at the very least, having a group, a place that you can get support as a neurodivergent person is very important. My personal experience of going to tournaments was tournaments are a very hostile place for an autistic person. You're telling me I'm going to go into a room with 50 people and they're all going to talk to each other, make a lot of noise, and I'm going to go in there and try and socialize and focus on a video game when so many things are happening around me, and this is the only way we play the game. There is no, either if you're going to play Melee IRL and it's the gold standard of Melee, this is the way you're gonna have to play. And it's a matter of accessibility in itself. And to me, I've managed to stick through it because I've been able to talk about my experiences with other people in the community, not because I had a place that I could go and find those people, but because I happen to randomly stumble onto people who are like me and have the same problems that I could talk to. And that was I think the ability to find the support network for yourself and find a support network of people who have similar experiences is very important. And to me, it would be beneficial, maybe not to have a social group of neurodivergent people, but maybe more of at least a come here if you need support kind of organization, I guess you could call it that. Anything that would make people not feel alone. That is that's also like another of the reasons why it's been hard for me to stay in Melee. I'm staying in Melee for now, but I'm going to a tournament and I'm going to experience so many accessibility issues that I can't really do anything about. And what am I gonna do? And having support from people with similar experiences is, to me, I credit it as one of the reasons why I'm still playing Melee, and one of the reasons why I'm here now is because I realized that it's so random that I got support, and like how many people stopped playing Melee because they didn't get support. I don't know, but I'm discovering that I'm not the only one with issues. Like I have autism. There are a lot of people with autism in the community. People with ADHD, a lot of people with ADHD in the community. I think it's important that we also get to group, because getting to group allows for advocacy. And that's another matter that I thought about is like even on the LGBT community, advocacy is only possible as a community, as a group of people. And if we're going to start advocating for accessibility features, for example, I'm going to shout out HFLAN because they have planned to have a quiet room, aka a place that is not go outside and freeze, and is just you can stay inside and be safe from sensory assault for a little while at least, which is a great accessibility feature for someone like me. But this kind of thing we can't advocate. I can't advocate as an individual. I can't do that. HFLAN this happens at HFLAN because one of the TOs is concerned by the same issues, mostly, I think. I can't go and advocate to other TOs alone. And one of the reasons I would consider for creating a structure like this would be to allow for advocacy for accessibility features. Very simple. But that's another reason why I think it's important to have these community groups, like we have LGBTQ groups, and maybe we could create a neurodivergent group, whether it be support or advocacy or both, or even make it a bigger social group. I don't know. I haven't created it. It doesn't exist yet, but that's what I think it would bring.
Yeah, I think it would be very, very interesting. And even, let's say, if no groups are created, because I know that there is a big bunch of people within the European Winner Smash, for example, that have ADHD, that are on the spectrum, being autistic, or that have physical disabilities, for example. And I think it would be very interesting to have at least a documentation for the TOs, or maybe meetings with them just to explain tiny steps that can be done in advance to make sure that people with any disabilities or people that cannot really concentrate with sounds, etc., have something that they can use to make their journey better or just accessible. Because if there is someone with back problems, for example, and that can never play if they don't have the chair very aligned with the screen at their horizon view, um, they will never be able to play during the event. And so it's basically, they can just not play, which is not what we want to do for our attendees. So that's just tiny steps that can be adding a new setup, maybe 4, 3, 6 setups in a tinier room that has less, sounds going around. So because there is less people around, so it would be less distracting. Or just having splitters for audios, so everyone can have their own headset instead of only hearing the room, the venue sound. So I think it would be very interesting to think about it, which is not really the subject of today, but that would be very great to have something put in place for that, just to make the events more welcoming and the community more welcoming for people with different issues, as we did with women, with Smash Sisters, or as we did with queer discords. So I think it would be nice. So I'm trying to look at if there is something that we didn't discuss about. Do you I don't know. I'm completely lost. I'm sorry. Do you think, Robbie, that the LGBT meetup at Air 5 really escalated the different, how can I say, really helped the people to start creating those discords, for example, or that it gave a step forward for people to be, oh, actually, this has been done once, let's just do it again, let's just make more moves about it to make it a normal thing?
I hope it has. I'd kind of throw this over to Swish actually, because I think like you've been around to see maybe more of what's happened since then, and I'm old, so like I don't use Discord and stuff as much as I should. So like I was excited to see that Discord come up, but I haven't seen where it's gone since then. I hope that stuff has come around and gave that people a springboard, but like for me, I really kind of did that. It felt great in that moment, and then I was just like, "See you later, guys. I'm leaving the community." So I really like. I hope that has happened, and I that's kind of a wish for me that from running that people would take that and think, "Hey, let's." The thing that comes to my mind about it is I think Terra's maybe ran another meetup, and that's the only thing I know of really that like happened after I left. So Swish, do you like? Is there anything that you could?
Well, I think LGBT meetups are quite like common at bigger tournaments now. I think it's like it's what you said, that visibility is really important and was really difficult at the time. And I think it was really important that you were such a face of the meetup, because there's like Jess, who's sort of was like a commentator, who's visible in that way. I was a TO and I was visible in that way. And you were sort of our top player representative. And like Melee's kind of funny, where that to being a top player and being out is like actually really important for visibility. Like, who else could we name out of the top players that are like out as gay? I mean, even if we look at like the top 100, there's like Real Beat, there's like Magi, there's still very few, and I think that's one of the most important issues of visibility. But I think, I would contribute a lot to how the European scene has changed just based on that meetup, because Air 5 is sort of the big, I mean, it used to be Beast, but it was the big European meetup at the time. And there was people from, every region all there. We all sort of got to know each other. I think it was really important. And I think it has changed a lot. I'm also not a big Discord user. I still do everything through Facebook Messenger chat. But I still sit in these Discords. I still read all the messages, and it sort of makes me very proud to see how far we've come. And like, I always want to be there to give support to people. because I think a lot of people are still struggling with these things. And I think it's good to have people they can go to who are sort of community figures.
And kind of on that, like I had people messaging me about the meetup, like, hey, when's it happening? I'm kind of scared to come to this because if I come to this, people are going to see me and know that I'm queer or I identify under this LGBTQ plus banner. Should I come to it? And I was like, please do come. But like some people didn't show up to it there. So, you know, the first time that they see that might not be the time that they feel ready to go to it. The second time, the third time. But if it's still happening at every tournament, that will just keep giving them a chance to feel ready to go to that and to feel part of it, and to feel okay in themselves. It's just, yeah, it's hard to fully communicate the kind of like the difference that makes to people, and as a player as well, because like I never, yeah, it's hard to feel. I never felt part of like the top players, and I'm not attributing that to like being queer, but like I wonder if it would have been different if there were more out like top players, and it's also about role models as well, because we all need someone to kind of think, oh, they did it, I can do it, kind of thing, or look to that person. And I think following me, there was Maxi, who was the Jigglypuff player from Ireland, who was another openly gay player. That was like great to get more representation. But like in Europe, I don't think there were or have been that many top players that are openly queer.
Yeah, I think even in the women's side, for example, when I started, I didn't know any women. Well, I had some women within my city, but they weren't playing that much, and they were seen as the girls. And when I started going more and more into tournaments in Europe, the only woman playing a lot was Shelly, that I was able to see, at least from France, and France perspective, I would say, and seeing that she was going a lot to the US, and that she was even commentating some events, and that she had a voice, and that people weren't mean to her, at least publicly on social medias, that she was listened to, and that she was respected for who she is. And that was really something that helped me a lot, to see how important it is to have representation, as well as just if it was top players, etc. So yeah, I think this is definitely something that is lacking, and that would be great to have, just for people to be able to just have a model, and feel safer this way. For now, we have our groups, and I think it works pretty okay. And I think we have more and more people being motivated to play. We have more people being open about themselves, and I'm very happy to see it happening more and more within the community. And I, I know that in 2019 I've been going to Albion 4, which is Ultimate, but that was 1,000 people event, which is a lot of people. And me and Awesome B have been doing Smash Sisters and an LGBTQ plus meetup. We had a lot of people being unhappy about it, because it's still new as well for Ultimate. A lot of people were unhappy about it, and unhappy that it was taking setups for nothing. And but the people that showed up, I've never seen people smiling so much at a Smash event. They were like, so I've been doing badges as well, because I think the idea was pretty cool. Sorry.
They're probably much better than
So yeah, we had like some badges for the European Women's Smash with the logo of it, and we had some with the rainbow flag and the logo of Albion on it. and people were just so happy to have something they can, like, they have a memory of it. And that was the first time they were going in an LGBT meetup as well within an event. And just seeing them smile, just seeing them so happy, and just the tournament running well, and people messaging us months after just to say thank you, or, oh, I found out my badge as it was in my bag again, and just sharing it over all the people, and just then being more happy to come out to the community and again be themselves. That was just really beautiful to see. So I think I'm very glad that yeah, every of you and every of all the people that have been doing new things within the community for either marginalized people or people with disabilities or anything have been doing those efforts to make the community a better place, and that it's really helping just to get more comfortable, and people being able to do what they like, aka playing Melee.
I think one of the things about spaces is that you don't really know how much you need them and how much they mean to you until you have them. It was the same. It was with the meetup, the Transcord, the EU Women of Smash Discord. You're always sort of hesitant to go into spaces. You always, there's sort of an anxiety there, and I think every time I've always felt afterwards, I didn't know I needed this, and I'm glad I have it now.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
100% agree with that. I think it was like the exact same, yeah, how you worded it exactly. I did not know I needed this so much when it was the LGBTQ meetup at F5. It was just like, where has this been for like the 12, 13 years that I've been playing Smash? And it's probably like one of the highlights of my career, like just being together at Air, which was an amazing tournament, but it was like on the first night, and it was just like Jana, you said, it was just joyful. It was just a joyful experience for the people there, and like everyone was happy to be in that space together. And it was just like I am really, really pleased to hear that those things have continued, and that we are having players like Ash join the community that have access to those spaces now. And I really don't wish to like in any way like claim that I began that this was like I think that we were all there. It was just waiting for someone to come along and do something, and that would have happened at some point. And just the persistence of it is also a credit to like those people's existence, and that they want that and that they need that. And that was always there. That was always going to happen at some point. It just so happened that it began at Air, which was a great starting place for it to have it at that tournament.
Yes. Well, I think that's going to be the end for us today. Yeah, we're going to have a short break for the conference, and then we're going to have Bryce talking about bans, so basically how and why. So make sure to stay there for the next panel. And also in 2 hours, we have a topic that is very, very related to our topic today, and it's basically how to be a good ally. So if you think that it's an interesting topic and that you would like to know more about, because maybe you're not a trans person, or maybe you're not a woman or another marginalized group, you don't know how to be good and help those people to feel safe in the community. So this panel is definitely made for you. So yeah, thank you very much, Robbie, Swish, and Ash. That was very nice to have a great conversation with you all. And yeah, if you have any credit you would like to do, thanks a lot to Jessica, Exile, and Vluk for this this conference. I think this is really amazing. I had a very great time looking at Jess and really talking earlier on. So yeah, thank you very much for this initiative. If you have anything, guys, that you would like to shout out, for free. We have a minute left.
I'm gonna shout out Gaylee because they allow me to come into this community, and Camp, which is the server I run, and the Women of Smash community, and that's it. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Scottish scene who stuck with me and supported me through everything. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be the person I am now without their support. Yeah.
And I am gonna shout out my boyfriend who made me this, which is really cool. No, I'm not sure who to shout, but Jess, thank you very much for inviting me to this and allowing me to take part, because I'm not still a massive part of the community, so it's great for me to be able to share my experiences. So Jess, thank you for inviting me along, and for Ash and Swish and Jana for being great panelists and moderator.
All right. Thank you very much all once again, and thank you very much for everyone watching this. And now I'm going to leave it to Bryce after a short break. Thank you.